boys and girls. How are you doing? I know I haven't probably done a live video in a while, and we haven't done an assessments in a while. So I figured if we're going to do one today, we might as well do the other. Okay, so the assessments today is really just little answer boxes. So it's going to kind of set up perfect for this style of questioning. All right, so again, we have a couple problems that are going to be written at first like this, and this is probably the harder way to see them. 6/10 plus 4/100 equals blank hundredths. Again, your natural reaction might want to say that 6 plus 4 equals 10. While 6 plus 4 does equal 10, that's not what's actually happening in this problem, because they're different things, or they're parts of different pieces. 6/10 is this red picture right here. And then 4/10 are these 4 little pieces. So again, 6 whole rows and then 4 little pieces. You can almost think about this actually joining over here. And then Mr. Greer will be jealous of my amazing artwork right there. And again, if you need a new art teacher, let me know. All right, so again, that's like what 6/10 plus 4/100 means. And you notice the 6/10 is still, right, again, if we're thinking of this decimal, that'd still be our 0.6 or 6/10. Our 4/100 would be like 0.04. When you line those up, let me switch color, that actually goes there. We're going to learn about that later. See how my decimal points, I know they're kind of hard to see, so I'll make them bigger. Those actually lined up. Hold on, I think an announcement is coming on. Yep. So to my point from before, again, what's actually happening here is we're actually adding these in separate areas. I know it looks kind of weird, but we're actually adding right here. The 4 gets really added to nothing, and then the 6 also gets added to nothing because they're not in the same row. That would be as a decimal. What we would actually write, like in assessments, then your answer that you would put in the answer box would just be the number 64 for this one. Okay, that's all they're kind of looking for. It's probably like the first 8 to 10. I didn't actually count, but it should be somewhere around there. They're just looking for kind of that missing number. Okay, and then later on that same assignment, it's going to give you, it might be a different numbers, but the same idea. It's going to write it out in fraction form as like 6/10 plus 4/100. Again, you can tell from those bottom numbers that they're not in the same spot. So same thing, this is our 1 0 right after the decimal point. Our 2 zeros has to go 2 spots after. So same thing, when we just have one number in each, then it would then become 64/100. Which again, later on assessments, you would put in the answer box as 64/100. Okay, but again, most of the first ones, they're just going to want that number. What I like about assessments, it will tell you, like if you put in 64/100, it will say incorrect and then have you go back and fix it. If I do it in like a form, you won't know until the end that you were doing it wrong the whole time. Then I have to try to come up with like 12 to 15 different ways you could possibly answer the question, and so on. Okay, and then I'll show you a couple different examples. Again, this is just, again, here's our 60, and there's our 64, either in decimal form, in fraction form, or just 64. Okay, most of the end of the assignment wants it in decimal form, and it will say that in the directions. And I'll show you some trickier ones in a minute. Similarly, we might have something like this. This one is a little bit trickier because it takes a little more thinking. 7/10 plus 18/100. Again, here's my purple, my 7 out of 10, or 7/10. So you're thinking like decimals or fractions, it's really going to turn to something like 70. I'll put it here to see how, and you can still, it's kind of hard to see, but I'll make it bigger. So if we're thinking in terms of decimals or fractions, remember that's like 70. And then we're going to take our 18 and basically kind of add it on. So this whole entire row plus 8 more. And that's basically what ends up kind of happening there. I know it's kind of hard to see. Let me see if I'm in a good spot where you can see. It's basically like 70 plus 10 plus 8. And it's not 7 plus 18 equals 25. And that's the 7 is really like a 70. Then there's the 10, and then there's the 8. That's why we end up with 88. And you can see how there'd be another 2 here and another 10. There's our extra 12, kind of that's left over out of the 100. So that would kind of be our answer there. 88 is all you would put in the answer box if it's in this kind of mixed word form. Okay, what kind of short word form or unit form, as Mrs. White calls it. Again, the 7/10 really means 70. Again, I personally like to think about these in decimals. It makes a lot more sense to me. Again, there'll be some later on that will want your answer in decimals. But when you kind of line it up that way, it works out quite nicely. And then when I add them together, there's my 88 cents. Or again, it might give it to you in fraction form later on in the assignment. It's going to have 7/10 over here and 18/100 over here. And same idea, it's not 7 plus 18. It's actually 70 plus 18. So just like we've been doing this week with our decimals, you can add the 70 and 100, add those zeros in the end. And then that's why we get, again, as a fraction, it'd be 88/100. And most of it, they're going to want it actually answered as a decimal. We then convert that to our 0 point. Thought I switched color. That would be our answer as a decimal. This would be our answer in that kind of mixed word form or short word form or unit form. And then I'll show you another one that's even a little bit trickier. And then I wanted to show you this one because something different is going to happen in this one. It's going to start off the same way. All right, 8/10 plus 42/100 equals something hundredths. It's going to be something different about this, though. So when we think about this one basically as 80/100, again, I'm thinking about my 8/10 as a fraction becomes 80 over 100. Then I can add it to the 42/100. It's going to be something a little different here. This is a little weird. I probably should have planned this out better. So see how here's my 80. I just had an idea. Let me put it into effect. And here's my 42. Through the magic of editing, it's going to blow your mind. I'm going to rearrange those in a second to show you what's going to actually happen here. Okay, so this really helps you see it with the color coding. Again, my 8 purple whole rows still stayed the same. That's still my 80. And then my green 42 is still there. It just looks a little different. This is just kind of a gap between them. Because again, 20 of them came over here. And then, oh, sorry, it's 43. And then here's my other 23. Okay, plus the 80. So again, I'm thinking of it this way. I'm actually in my head kind of think I'm actually adding 80 plus 20 plus 23. There's my 123. Again, on assessments today, that would be your whole answer, 123. That's what you would put in the answer box. It already has the unit, already has the word hundredths. Sometimes it might give it to you in the fraction form first. And then it's going to say it wants the answer as a decimal. So first I'd be thinking in my head, I convert it to 123/100. Then as a decimal though, let me switch colors again. On assessment, you would put 0, oh, sorry, not 0. 1, because we have one whole dollar, or one whole mile, or one whole hour, and then another 23/100. There's my 1 right here, this whole one here. That's one whole mile, one whole hour, one whole candy bar, one whole whatever. And then there's still this 23/100 left over, or in money, like $1.23. Okay, so that's your assignment for today. Remember, you're not adding 8 plus 43 is 51. Because one's in tenths and one's in hundredths. All right, and then we're going to work on an assessment. It's been a while.